As a leader, as a business owner, you have to ask yourself, would I be that kind of business owner, that kind of leader where those people could come to me safely with confidence that they wouldn't get fired, that they wouldn't hear grief, that they wouldn't get demoted or whatever, and be able to have a conversation and say, hey, I'm really embarrassed to say this. I don't know what my son was thinking, but here's what happened. And so this means my son's expelled or suspended for the moment. Sue eventually was expelled. So that's going to change where he goes to school and what we do in the daytime and how I'm thinking about him. I'm going to have to involve a lawyer. There's going to be meetings, so I'm going to have to leave work early. I may have to ask for an extra break to take a phone call. How do you embrace that as a leader? And most importantly, do they come to you or do they suffer in silence?
Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the tie to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. I say this in fun today because we have a cool guest that's going to really talk about leadership and entrepreneurship. And Jeff Giagnocavo. Jeff, thank you for joining today with us. We're going to talk about other things of leadership and other things, but take a few moments, introduce yourself to everyone on here on the podcast.
Yeah, name's Jeff Giagnocavo. As you just jumbled up a bunch of letters. That's actually what happened on Ellis Island. One of my uncles tracked that down, and we have like the logbook entry where that second G got added in. But the old country way was Giagnocavo. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, really on both sides, more so my father's side, but my mom's side as well. And I was steeped in it, man. I saw it happen. I saw what it looked like, the good and the bad, and the success and the struggle that came with it. 16, or leading up to 16, I wanted a car, I wanted freedom. And so I started cutting grass and washing cars in the neighborhood that we lived in, and, built that up into a little something and then sold that off to friends so I could go buy a car in one fell swoop. And that was the first business I built and sold. And I've only worked 2 years on a W-2 in my life. The rest of the time I've been an entrepreneur, a bunch of different businesses. I've built things, sold things, had things fail, had to leave, and things that, I thought would be great and weren't. And so the journey's not that much different. There is a part of my journey that is unique in the fact of, as a person, I had to work on myself a lot because of what I was given as a child. I'm a victor over the grave of the childhood sexual abuse that happened in my life. And I talk about that in my book. And, the path I'm on now is to really challenge people who lead other people to create this space for others. The world's a broken place, man. And we need people to stand out and be living examples of courage for others where that's hard.
Thank you for sharing, because that's core to your book and your passionate belief in what you're doing right now. And it's not even open about it. It's creating the safe places. Maybe dive into that if you want to set up a little bit on your, how you got there, just some examples and wisdom along the way. But set up the book and what inspired it and take us on that journey.
Yeah, I've been, as an entrepreneur, I've got that disease I think most have, where it's, hey, I could do this. There's this thing over here. Let's go do that. And so I've always had multiple irons in the fire, which I think in one way is good, right? Because you're expanding, you're pushing your talents to new levels and trying to, kind of bust through new ceilings, et cetera. But for me, it's always focused on that Main Street type business, that brick and mortar business, the experience business, lots of touch points, orchestrating things. And I've done some consulting over the years. And, look, there's a million consultants out there. And I still do that. And I still derive income from that. But really, I'm looking to make change. I'm looking to make impact that I've never had. I had a coach 18 months ago say, what do you want? What do you want in life? And a lot of people answer that with, the usual things: success. I want to be able to give back. I want a legacy. I want for my family to be set up. And, I have and want all those things too. But truly, what I want, this hole in my heart that's been ripped open as a child, that soul of a kid that was robbed with his BMX bike at the age of 7, walking down the street with his little girlfriend, Jackie, hand in hand, walking to school. I want that soul of that kid put back. Mm-hmm. And I realize there's a lot of people that want that too. And it's getting there. Just talking about it, I think, is important.
Yeah. Can you get it back?
I think so. Soon enough. I do this enough. These moments are great because I know somebody's going to hear it. And I know somebody as a survivor who can shift into that victor over the grave of that abuse, because that's where you'll put it. You don't forget about it. People go visit graves, right? You don't forget about it. I use another analogy. It's this kind of abuse I look at like a suitcase. Sometimes it's a big old 100-pound rucksack. Other days it's a easy clutch that's carried, right? And all things in between. You never forget about it. But that victor over the grave for me is where I'm at, for sure. being able to speak like this for sure, but it doesn't go away, and for me, the abuse was around computers and video games. The mid-late 80s was fun times for that, right? Like Nintendo, Duck Hunt, Super Mario Brothers, the first one, that kind of stuff. And to this day, sitting in front of a computer is difficult. Video games are out, but I don't let it hold me back. There's things that you have to deal with, but I don't let it hold me back.
Your book, tell me how you set this up and made the title, The Space for Leadership. So bring that kind of into the conversation a bit.
Yeah. So, I try to speak in themes and give stories and try to give things that people can relate to and connect to. And I want to clarify one thing. Everybody goes through life. I don't think anybody goes through life unscathed, right? You could be someone like my business partner in my retail business as an example. Man, this is a great guy, great father, great leader, fantastic business partner, mom and dad present, 2 other brothers, just like that Mayberry on Main Street idyllic upbringing, right? You could have all of that, and there could still be that one moment that has reframed you in a negative way and impacted you in a negative way. And I don't want to weigh that out against you. It's your thing, and so just know you're not alone. That's the one thing I will demand that people hear. You aren't alone. I know I felt alone. And I know I shared this story for the first time in a room of 60 people a year ago at an event. And tomorrow I go back and kind of have a reunion, if you will, at that event. And it's pretty cool that I challenged myself. If I don't share this publicly now, I won't. Because I was so teetering at that point and about this part of my life and sharing it. And I took that step, and it's been fantastic since. And again, you're not alone. There's a lot of shame that comes with this kind of stuff, and it insulates yourself. And you're not alone. We may have different scars, we may have different wounds. There is the ability to, commune with others if you'll allow it. And I think so many times that inability to allow it results in negative leadership where you lash out. So you touched on, you can use a new marketing plan, but is it more about your leadership? And is it about what's inside that's affecting your leadership? And so the book really kind of brings that into focus.
If someone's going to read this, what's the key takeaway you're going to drive for this?
Yeah, let me tell it through a story if I can. So as a leader, here's what I would challenge you to be in the culture and the trust that I would ask for you to create with your people. So the day before Thanksgiving, we had a legit full-blown knife fight in our high school where my youngest son goes. I saw the video, I got it through Snapchat, right? Pretty intense stuff. So imagine that family the day before. Thank God it happened. I would not want it to happen, but thank God it did before a major holiday, right? Each camp can cool down, type of thing. It doesn't have to escalate. But imagine being that family over that holiday weekend. Now imagine being mom and dad having to come back to work that Monday morning. What frame of mind are they in? And so as a leader, as a business owner, you have to ask yourself, would I be that kind of business owner, that kind of leader where those people could come to me safely with confidence that they wouldn't get fired, that they wouldn't hear grief, that they wouldn't get demoted or whatever, and be able to have a conversation and say, hey, I'm really embarrassed to say this. I don't know what my son was thinking, but here's what happened. And so this means my son's expelled or suspended for the moment. Sue eventually was expelled. So that's going to change where he goes to school, what we do in the daytime, and how I'm thinking about him. I'm going to have to involve a lawyer. There's going to be meetings, so I'm going to have to leave work early. I may have to ask for an extra break to take a phone call. How do you embrace that as a leader? And most importantly, do they come to you, or do they suffer in silence and push through as they're in just this immense, that's got to be that's a pretty big crisis as a family, right? It's not on the level of like childhood cancer or losing a child, but it's up there. It's a heavy crisis.
I mean, it's got it all. Embarrassment. It's got like judgment of you. It's got it all. I mean, and if anybody got hurt and really, then you...
Thankfully, no one was hurt, but weapons were out. I mean, it was as bad as it was as bad could be without somebody being hurt.
Yeah, that's...
And so who are you in that moment as that leader of those people? I think that's the ultimate test of leadership, right? Like, we have to remember, we get the majority of waking hours from our people. They spend more time with us than their kids.
So when you step into how-to, maybe what are the top 1 or 2 things you should and shouldn't do as a leader to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's sharing with the people you lead, your team, who you are as a human, why you've maybe done things in the past and what that's been about. Maybe you don't need to share every aspect of your personal life, but you need to be able to relate to them. So I guess it would have been maybe March of last year, I shared with my team my abuse. And I just said, hey, I'm going to be getting on podcasts. I'm going to be writing this book. And I may have to do a podcast at my store office. And so, you may hear something from underneath the closed door, because they walk right by my office, and not that they eavesdrop in or anything.
Oh, they do. They're definitely listening. There's no doubt.